Yo, what's up guys? It's Noah here, and in today's video, we're going to be breaking down the NBA slate on Draftkings and Yahoo for Thursday, April the 1st. We got a 7-game NBA slate for Thursday. Today's also opening day for baseball, so we do have baseball to talk about. I have already made my MLB video for those of you that are playing MLB today. If you want to check that out, it is already up on the channel. For now, I do plan on making both NBA and MLB videos, at least for a week or two, just to see how it goes. Then we'll transition back to one sport or the other. I feel like NBA is going to be the sport I mainly focus on, but I do enjoy playing MLB, and I want to get up MLB content, especially now that it's the beginning of the new season. But yeah, we got a 7-game NBA slate to talk about. We'll break this down team by team like we always do. Just before we do get started, guys, as always, I would appreciate it if you would hit that like button down below. Click that subscribe button as well if you are new here. Be sure to hit the notification bell so that way you do get notified every time I upload. You also get notified every time I do go live. Not sure yet if I'm going to be streaming for this slate this afternoon. It's to be determined. I do have some baseball content I have to finish up for tomorrow's slate, and also I'm going to be sweating MLB in the afternoon. But I'll probably am most likely going to stream. If I do go live, I'll be live around my normal time, 4 Eastern time, Thursday afternoon. If you guys want to tune in, I can answer all your guys' questions. We can break down the slate once again in the live stream Thursday afternoon. But yeah, let's go ahead and take a look at this slate for Thursday. We'll start off with the Sixers and Cavs game. So on the Sixers side, we know that Joel Embiid's going to remain out for at least this game. Right now it's expected that he is going to be back for their next game on Saturday, but he's going to be out Thursday. So with Joel Embiid still out, Ben Simmons, Tobias Harris, two guys that are going to benefit. On this slate, though, I don't think either one are top options for me. I just haven't been playing Simmons or Harris recently. And, it hasn't really, come back to bite me. They've both been pretty bad. Ben Simmons hasn't put up more than 40 fantasy points in 5 straight games. Tobias Harris has been better than Ben Simmons, but he's still been pretty inconsistent. Would I be surprised if you got a big game from one of these two guys? No, they're viable in tournaments, but I don't consider either one of them core plays or top options for me. I definitely would rather have Kawhi over Ben Simmons now that we know Paul George is already out. So, yeah, I don't see a ton I like on the Sixers. I will mention Dwight Howard just because he did start last game. I'm not sure if that was matchup based. I'm pretty sure they wanted him out there to defend Nikola Jokic, so they started Dwight Howard. Most likely he's going to go back to the bench, but I still think, without Joel Embiid, with Tony Bradley no longer on the team, even if Howard comes off the bench, I would assume he's going to play around 25, 26 minutes. If he were to start again, I'd feel better about him getting closer to 30 minutes. He only played 20 last game, but it was a blowout. He didn't play at all in the fourth quarter. I don't think any of the starters played in the fourth quarter, so yeah, I think if we get a close game here, we probably get 25, 26 minutes from Dwight Howard, maybe more if he winds up starting. For 5,600, he's a viable center option. There's a lot of good center plays today. There's some good value at center, but don't mind going to Howard. Should be very low owned, but that's probably it for the Sixers. Not a ton I really see here. Now on the Cleveland side, we do have some guys to talk about in Cleveland, mainly the bigs. So we know Jared Allen and Larry Nance are both going to be out once again. And with them both out last game, we did see the newly acquired Isaiah Hartenstein start at center, and he was really productive. He had 35 DK points in 26 minutes. This is someone, dating back to when he was with the Rockets. He's always been a productive player when he gets minutes. He's just, never really been someone you're going to give a ton of minutes to. But with all these injuries to Cleveland right now, with Nance out, with Jared Allen out, I assume Isaiah Hartenstein is going to start again and play around 30 minutes. He did get into some foul trouble last game, which kind of limited his minutes, but he still played even though it was a blowout, and that's one thing I do like here. I assume even if this game gets ugly, even if Philly blows out Cleveland, which is very possible, you're still going to see Isaiah Hartenstein out there in a blowout. 3,700, clearly one of the top value plays today. I think he's a guy I'm definitely going to be building around on both sides. DK, love him there, and on Yahoo he's super cheap as well, $11. Clearly one of the top value plays today, assuming he does start again. Normally I would be scared of this matchup, but with Joel Embiid still out, I'm not as worried about Hartenstein getting into foul trouble or struggling here. I'm sure he's going to run into some trouble when he has to defend Dwight Howard, but he'll get some time on the floor where Howard's not out there. As long as Hartenstein can stay out of foul trouble, he should easily be able to pay off a $3,700 salary, especially if he gets closer to 30 minutes like he did last game. So love Hartenstein, a clear value play today. Not a ton else, though, that I really like on Cleveland. Colin Sexton for 7,200, I think you could look to. He should benefit without Larry Nance, without Jared Allen. Those guys aren't really high usage players, but you're replacing those two guys with low usage players like Broderick Thomas and Dean Wade. So I expect Sexton to dominate the usage. He's going to play a ton of minutes as long as the game stays close. I do have some interest in him for tournaments. I don't think he's a cash game play, but makes some sense in tournaments. I guess the same could be said for Darius Garland. Now, Kevin Love is questionable, so this will be something to monitor. If Kevin Love does wind up playing, I'd assume that he would be on a minutes limit. I mean, Love's only played, so he played 2 games, then he got injured. Then he came back about 3 months later in March, played 2 games and got injured again. I would assume even if Kevin Love plays today, he's going to be on a very strict minutes limit. Maybe that would slightly lower my interest in Isaiah Hartenstein if Love does play, but I assume Hartenstein would probably still start at center and probably still get, enough minutes to pay off a $3,700 salary. So I did want to mention, Kevin Love just because he is questionable, but I don't think that's going to impact too much. I assume he'll be on a strict minutes limit. But yeah, guys, I think that does it for the Cavs side. We can go ahead and move on to the next game, the Wizards and the Pistons. So on the Wizards today, Bradley Beal is once again questionable. This is a very, important injury to monitor. We've seen these last 2 games with Bradley Beal out. I mean, Russell Westbrook has just gone out there and dominated. 94 DK points in 39 minutes against the Pacers, 69 DK points in 38 minutes against the Hornets. If Bradley Beal is out again, I think Russell Westbrook is one of the clear top plays of the day. I don't know if Westbrook is going to be someone I force in today if Beal plays, but if Beal is out again, I'm definitely going to be jamming in Westbrook. I've played Westbrook the last 2 slates. His price tag has barely moved. If Beal's out again, I think Russell Westbrook is a clear top option. I don't really need to tell you that. Bradley Beal, on the other hand, I don't think I'm really going to go to on this slate. I think there's just other guys priced around Beal that I would rather go to. Really like Kawhi at his salary. I'd rather have Kawhi over Bradley Beal. So really for me, it's just Russell Westbrook is a fine option if Bradley Beal plays, and Russell Westbrook is a core play for me if Bradley Beal is out again. And if Bradley Beal were to be out again, that would benefit guys like Rui and Denny Avia. But they've all been priced up a decent amount to where I don't have a ton of interest in them. I will mention Jerome Robinson just because he's pretty cheap, $3,500. Did play 36 minutes last game without Beal and without Raul Neto. If Beal and Neto were both to be out again, for $3,500, you could definitely look to Jerome Robinson as a cheap option. I know that on Yahoo, Rui's been pretty underpriced lately. His price tag's gone up a little bit, $25, but still viable if Beal's out. But now on the Pistons side, we'll have to keep an eye on some of these guys here because this is a back-to-back for the Pistons. A lot of their guys have been out lately, so we don't know the status yet of Dennis Smith Jr. We don't know the status yet of Wayne Ellington. Also, Hamidou Diallo, there's been talks like maybe he could be rested just because he's come back from a groin injury. He did have a really good game, though, again on Wednesday night off the bench. So we're just going to have to keep an eye on this Pistons situation. There are some guys that I think are appealing here. Jeremy Grant had a huge game on Wednesday night. Obviously, this is a good matchup here against Washington. I know he struggled last time these teams played. He did get injured. He only played 19 minutes because of the injury, but he really wasn't that productive even in those 19 minutes. But still, in a good matchup against Washington, I do definitely have interest in a guy like Jeremy Grant. He's for sure appealing on this slate. Josh Jackson did start on Wednesday. I can't exactly remember how many minutes he played. He played, let's see. Yeah, he only played 18 or 19 minutes. I mean, even if Josh Jackson starts again, I had interest in Josh Jackson once it was announced he was starting. I didn't play him, but even if he starts again, I don't know if we can go there just because he only played 19 minutes. Hamidou Diallo, though, is the one guy I do want to talk about. So he came off the bench again, but he played 26 minutes. He's played 27 and 26 minutes in back-to-back games. He came back from a groin injury, and he's been on a minutes limit, supposedly, so just keep an eye on this. I wouldn't be surprised if Diallo winds up getting rested here. But if he's good to go, if he's going to play, I think we get probably mid-20s, closer to 30 minutes from Diallo off the bench, and he would be a very appealing option. He's pretty affordable on both sides. I would say that he's probably my favorite play overall from Detroit. Saban Lee, I had some interest in on Wednesday's slate. Didn't wind up playing him. He only played 20 minutes, 14 fantasy points, The Pistons, man, they just run such a deep rotation. It's really hard to have a ton of confidence in any of these guys outside of a Jeremy Grant or a Hamidou Diallo. So that probably does it for the Pistons. I think we can go ahead and move on to the next game, Charlotte and Brooklyn. So on Charlotte today, I do have some interest in some of these guys. Terry Rozier, 8K, Gordon Hayward at 7,900. I think without LaMelo Ball, these two guys are going to continue to benefit. Now, Malik Monk was out last game, and I think that definitely boosted those guys a little bit. Monk is probable for today. He's expected back, so I wouldn't say that Hayward or Rozier are core plays for me at their price points, but they are definitely guys I get to in tournaments. Devontae Graham, he was really productive last game. Only played 30 minutes, which was kind of weird. Malik Monk was out, and Devontae Graham only played 30 minutes, but he was really productive. Had 39 DK points in that time. A good matchup here against Brooklyn. Should be a relatively fast-paced game. I would say that when you factor in price, Devontae Graham is probably my favorite play overall from Charlotte. He's probably the guy that I have the most interest in. You could definitely go to Malik Monk as well, assuming that he does play. Before, he missed that last game, he was playing really well, like 27, 24, 26 minutes. He's been getting about 24 to 26 minutes per night. I think without LaMelo, we're going to continue to see Malik Monk get, around mid-20s minutes per game. He is someone that can score, can get hot, has that upside that we're looking for. In tournaments, he makes some sense at 4,900 as well. I would say, though, my favorite play from Charlotte, factoring in price, is probably Devontae Graham. I think he's the guy I like most from this Hornets team. Now, on Brooklyn, this is going to be a team we have to keep an eye on. So, as of Wednesday night, when I'm making this video, I'm recording this video around 10 o'clock Eastern time, Wednesday night. James Harden got injured in Wednesday's game, and he was not able to return. So, we have no idea if he's going to be able to play here on the back-to-back. This is going to be something to keep an eye on. Kyrie Irving, they've rested him on back-to-backs at times this year. I think he played in their most recent back-to-back, but honestly, I can't remember. I wouldn't be surprised if Harden plays and Kyrie gets ruled out here. I wouldn't be surprised if Harden's out and Kyrie plays. I wouldn't be surprised if both of them get ruled out. So my best guess is probably one of Harden or Irving are going to be out today. Harden just because he got injured. Irving just because he's been rested a lot this season on back-to-backs. Just keep an eye on this. If Harden plays and Kyrie's out, obviously I love Harden. He would be a top pay-up option. If Kyrie plays and Harden's out, then I would love Kyrie. At 9,800, he would be a top pay-up option. If they both play, I think they're viable. I don't think either one are going to be top options for me. Harden, 10-9, I would definitely prefer over Kyrie. But yeah, we're just going to have to keep an eye on the statuses of these guys. So right now, Harden got injured Wednesday night. We don't know yet his status for Thursday. Kyrie's been rested a lot this season. On back-to-backs, they've rested him a lot, so he could maybe be out. Just keep an eye on this. We'll be sure to talk about this Brooklyn situation in the live stream Thursday, if I do go live. Because hopefully we'll get some news in the afternoon and we'll be able to fully dissect this Brooklyn team, once we find out if Harden or Kyrie, if either one of them or both of them are going to play today. But either way, I don't think I'd have much interest in any of the secondary pieces from Brooklyn. I think the only way I'd be going to these guys were if Harden or Kyrie, if one of the two were to be out. Then you can maybe consider guys like Bruce Brown or maybe, like a Tyler Johnson, I guess. What's Tyler Johnson's price? He's 3,200. If Harden were to be out, then you could go to Tyler Johnson. But yeah, we'll just have to wait and see when it comes to Brooklyn. Tough team to break down right now, not knowing if Harden or Kyrie are going to play. Hopefully we'll get some updates here, maybe sometime Thursday afternoon, and we can, talk about this Brooklyn situation again in the live stream. But moving on to the next game, Golden State, Miami. So on Golden State today, I don't really see a ton that I like here. Now that Steph Curry is back, I don't really want to pay $7,400 for Kelly Oubre or $7,400 for Wiggins, $6,300 for Oubre. Jordan Poole's completely out of play. I don't really like a ton from Golden State. I will mention James Wiseman. He's $5,200, continues to start, play around 26, 28 minutes a night. Definitely viable at this price point. He's been really cheap on Yahoo these last few slates. On Yahoo, he's still just $12. I think I'd rather have Hartenstein over James Wiseman, but still, if you need a cheap center, I think Wiseman does make plenty of sense at $12. But yeah, I don't see too much I like from Golden State. On the Miami side, it's kind of the same thing. This is a back-to-back for Miami. They have already said that Victor Oladipo, he was out Wednesday, but he is going to play here. He's expected to play, expected to make his debut with the Heat on Thursday. So with Victor Oladipo expected to make his debut, that just takes me off of guys like Hero and Dragic. And honestly, I don't really know if I want to pay up for Bam or Butler now that Oladipo is going to play. I think Oladipo is going to take some usage away from these guys, at least going to take enough usage away from them to where I don't want to spend these hefty price tags on these Miami guys. So Miami's just not a team I have much interest in at all today. And this game overall, not one I'm really going to be looking to. So I think we can go ahead and move on to the next game, Orlando and New Orleans. So on the Magic today, this Magic team, just not a team I have much interest in. If you look at their rotations lately, how they're playing out games, they're just running such a deep rotation. They're just giving a ton of guys, minutes. Everyone's playing at least, 10 minutes, it seems like. If I had to play anyone on Orlando, the matchup is really good against the Pelicans. Wendell Carter Jr., I think at some point, I said this in my last video, I feel like at some point Wendell Carter Jr. is gonna, take over the starting center role for the Magic. He's been productive off the bench these last few games. He was really productive last game against the Clippers. He only played 18 minutes off the bench, but did have 28 DraftKings points. If we get word that Wendell Carter is starting, I think that's going to come out at some point. I do expect Wendell Carter to be in the starting lineup at some point. Then he's going to be a top play if he winds up starting, but we just don't know if that's ever going to happen, or when that's going to happen. Chuma Okeke is probably the safest option on the Magic just because he continues to start and play around 30 minutes a night. He's been relatively productive in the starting lineup. He still does feel a little bit overpriced at $5,700, but you could maybe go to Okeke in a really good matchup. But like Keem Birch, I mean, last game he only played 19 minutes. I don't have any interest in him. James Ennis, I don't really want to go to. He played 28 minutes, but was not really that productive. Like this Orlando team is just not a team I really want to be rostering guys from. Even Terrence Ross, last game, he played 26 minutes, but he was not very productive, only 21 DK points. Michael Carter-Williams was the one guy that did have a big game. He played 32 minutes, had 40 DraftKings points. I guess you could go to MCW here, but I don't think MCW is going to be someone I really look to build around on this slate. As a tournament option, lower owned tournament option, I think he makes some sense, but not a core play for me. I think that probably does it on the Orlando side. Now on the Pelicans, Zion Williamson is questionable for today, which is a pretty big injury. I don't know if I think Zion's actually missed at least 1 or 2 games this year. If Zion were to get ruled out, then I would really like a guy like Brandon Ingram. I would assume that Brandon Ingram, he would probably get more usage, would be a really good option if Zion were to get ruled out. And I also would assume that Josh Hart would probably move into the starting lineup. If I remember correctly, I think last time Zion was out, Josh Hart did start, and I think he had a really good game. I can't remember what he finished with, but I know he played a ton of minutes. But yeah, if Zion plays, I don't know if there's really any standout options from the Pelicans outside of outside of maybe Zion himself, but not a Pelicans team I want to really get too much if Zion plays. But if Zion is out, really like Brandon Ingram. If Josh Hart were to start, I'd have some interest in him as well for 5,700. I think Steven Adams would maybe get a little bit of a boost. You could maybe go there at 5,300. He's been getting consistent minutes. He should be more productive if Zion's not out there. So those will probably be the 3 guys I'd be looking to on the Pelicans, if Zion gets ruled out. Lonzo Ball's also questionable, so keep an eye on that. I don't think that really impacts too much. If Lonzo plays and Zion's out, then maybe you could go to Lonzo, but probably not going to be going there personally. He's still relatively expensive at $7K. So I think that does it for this game. Moving on to the next one, Atlanta and San Antonio. So on the Hawks today, we do have a pretty important injury to talk about here. John Collins has already been ruled out for Atlanta, so that does make me very interested in someone like Clint Capella. 7,700 on DK. I think Clint Capella looks like one of the better center options today with John Collins out. I expect the minutes to be way more secure for Clint Capella. John Collins did get injured last game, and he got injured like at halftime, did not return, and we saw Capella play 35 minutes, which was the most that he's played in it's been like 10 games or so since Capella's even played close to 35 minutes. If we're going to get like 34, 35 minutes from Capella here without John Collins, I think at 7,700, he is a clear top center option. He's someone I definitely want to be playing with Hartenstein, and I like him a lot on Yahoo as well. The price tag, too low in my opinion. The price tags on both sites just weren't adjusted for John Collins being out today, so really do like Capella. I expect his minutes to be a lot higher. I expect them to be more secure, and he should be more productive as well without Collins out there. Trae Young, I would say probably gets a little bit of a usage boost without Collins. I don't know if he's still someone I really want to pay up for today. I still think I'd rather have Kawhi over Trae Young, but maybe you could go to Trae Young at 9,400. Bogdan Bogdanovic did have a really good game last game. He played 37 minutes. I think without John Collins, getting one less body out there, that helps to secure the minutes for Bogdan. I don't know if he played a ton of minutes just because he was playing really well, or if they plan on giving him big minutes moving forward. But if you tell me we're getting 35, 36 minutes from Bogdan, I have a lot of interest in him at 5,400. So he is definitely someone I'm going to be looking to on Atlanta along with Clint Capella. And then Danilo Gallinari, 5,200. I'm assuming that he probably starts here in place of John Collins. Only played 23 minutes last game, but if he were to start in place of Collins, I'd assume he'd get closer to 30 minutes. Gallo's been relatively productive this year with Atlanta, been about a fantasy point per minute player. He's someone I definitely have interest in, and especially on Yahoo. If you look at the pricing on Yahoo, Gallo looks really good over there. Small forward, always a tough position to fill on Yahoo, and Gallo's coming in at just $14. I think he is a clear value play, assuming that he does wind up starting for John Collins. Love Gallo, love Capella, and Bogdan. I think someone I'm going to be looking to as well. There's a lot to like on this Atlanta team. I would say those are the 3 main targets of mine with John Collins out. But on the San Antonio side, not as much I really like on San Antonio. Atlanta's been playing really slow lately. They're not nearly as good of a matchup as they have been in past years. Normally we think of Atlanta as a fast-paced and bad defensive team, but they've been playing really slow. Their defense has been better. The matchup's not great here. This is a back-to-back for San Antonio, so just keep an eye on that. I would assume that everyone plays, but I think on their last back-to-back, they did rest Dejounte Murray, so just keep an eye on that. If I had to play anyone on San Antonio, it would probably be Dejounte Murray at 7,100. Or maybe Jakob Poeltl at 5,900, but I don't think this is a Spurs team I really want to get much exposure to. I think a lot of my interest in this game is coming on the Hawks side, so that does it for this one. We can go ahead and talk about the last game on the night, Denver and LA and the Clippers. So This is definitely the most appealing game on the slate, in my opinion, specifically on the Clippers side. But starting off with Denver, you got Jokic at the top for 10,600. I don't mind Jokic on the slate, but we have so many good center plays. We've talked about Clint Capella. We've talked about Hartenstein as a value. It's going to be really tough to play Jokic, in one lineup. Like, if I'm playing one lineup today, I don't think I'm going to get to Jokic just because I will be prioritizing Hartenstein for value, and I really like Capella as well in the mid-range. Like, if Harden plays, I think I'd rather have Harden over Jokic. We'll have to keep an eye on that. But there's still other studs I think I'd rather have over Jokic. I mean, if I was going to play anyone on Denver today, it would be Jokic. Murray and Porter both had really good games last game, but I don't know if I want to really want to chase that. I mean, Jamal Murray's just been someone that's so frustrating to roster. He can go out there and put up 50 fantasy points any night, but we've seen, he can put up 30, 35 and just really disappoint. The floor is pretty low on Murray. We know the ceiling is there. The same could be said for MPJ. He had a ceiling game last game, 36 minutes, 55 DraftKings points, shot the ball incredibly well. I don't know if I really want to chase that, especially with Aaron Gordon now in the mix. I just don't know if the minutes are going to be as secure for Michael Porter. He's going to have to play really well like he did last game in order to get, 36 minutes again. Aaron Gordon hasn't been playing a ton with the Nuggets, but I assume his minutes are just going to, continue to ramp up as he gets more playing time with the team. So it's probably just Jokic for me. That's really the only guy I'm considering on Denver. Not too much else on this Nuggets team. Now on the Clippers side, this is where I have a lot of interest. So we already know that Paul George is out. Serge Ibaka, Patrick Beverley remain out. Rajon Rondo is still not able to make his debut with the Clippers. And Marcus Morris is also questionable, so this will be something to monitor. I'm pretty sure last game with Marcus Morris and Paul George both out, the Clippers did run an 8-man rotation. They ran a very tight rotation. We saw a lot of their starters play heavy minutes. Pretty sure almost all their starters played over 30 minutes. Zubac got 36. Reggie Jackson got 34. I think every starter for the Clippers played over 30 minutes last game. So there's going to be a lot to like here. Obviously, without Paul George, we expect the usage to be dominated by Kawhi. And I think at 9,300, Kawhi looks like one of the best pay-up options today. Love him on Yahoo as well at small forward, $43. He is definitely someone I'm going to be looking to pay up for. I know he hasn't really had any, the last two games without Paul George haven't been the best. I mean, 48 DK points, 43 DK points. You expect better from Kawhi with no PG, but we know we're getting from him. We're going to get 36, 38 minutes as long as this game stays close. We know Kawhi is going to go out there and dominate the usage. I mean, he's been incredibly consistent lately. I mean, his worst game out of his last 5 games is 43 DK points. We haven't really seen a big ceiling game from Kawhi in quite some time, but obviously the ceiling is a lot higher when PG is off the floor. So I really like Kawhi Leonard here. I think he is one of the top pay-up options with Paul George already ruled out. Zubac you could look to as well at 5,800. They're definitely going to need Zubac's size here against Jokic. I expect Zubac to play big minutes once again. There's a lot of good center plays today, but you could definitely throw Zubac into the mix with guys like Hartenstein, Capella, even Jokic. Just all these centers we've talked about. Zubac's definitely someone I'm going to be looking to. Reggie Jackson, without Paul George, I expect Reggie Jackson to play probably 30-plus minutes. 5,300, he is someone I for sure am interested in. As a mid-range point guard option, I do have a lot of interest in Reggie Jackson. If Marcus Morris plays, I do like him a good amount because without PG, we've seen him really benefit. Had a really good game. Last game he played when Paul George was out, 37 minutes, 37 DK points. If he plays today, he is very interesting. Definitely someone I'll be looking to in tournaments at 5,300. Terrence Mann, though, I think continues to be underpriced, and especially with Paul George out again, we should get around 30 minutes from Terrence Mann off the bench. Last 2 games with Paul George out, he's played 34 and 30 minutes off the bench, 32 and 28 DraftKings points. He's just been really productive overall. I mean, you look at the last 4 games, he's had at least 28 DK points in 4 straight games. In my opinion, he remains underpriced at 5,200. This is someone that can do a little bit of everything, and you've seen that lately. I mean, 9 points, 6 rebounds, or 6 assists, 7 rebounds, 14 points, 6 assists, 6 rebounds. He's been getting you points, rebounds, and assists. He shot the ball terribly last game and still had nearly 30 DK points. I like Terrence Mann a lot. I think he's one of my favorite plays along with Kawhi. Definitely one of the guys I'll be looking to from the Clippers today, and he's super cheap on Yahoo. I like him a lot over there as well. If you need a cheap point guard, I think Terrence Mann, Reggie Jackson as well. Both those guys stand out as good values. Only $12 for Terrence Mann on Yahoo. And then Nick Batum. Nick Batum for me is dependent on if Marcus Morris plays. If Marcus Morris plays, I don't have any interest in Nick Batum. But last game with Marcus Morris out, Batum did start, played 34 minutes, had 22 DK points. He'd be viable at 5K if Morris were to be out again. Probably wouldn't be a top option for me. He'd be more towards the bottom of my list, but definitely viable at least. And then Luke Kennard, I think, is the last guy I want to talk about. So 4,200. He has started in place of Paul George these last 2 games and has played 32 and 33 minutes. 31, 26 DK points. In my opinion, you know, he continues to be a little bit underpriced on DK at 4,200. This is normally not someone I feel like I ever have to play just because Luke Kennard, you know, he's pretty scoring dependent. A guy that, you know, if he's not knocking down shots, he's really not going to do much else in terms of peripherals. But for 4,200, the risk is not that high on Kennard, like especially if he plays over 30 minutes again. It's very likely that he, you know, gets you enough points to where he doesn't kill you at 4,200. If he plays 30 plus minutes, I feel pretty confident that Kennard can at least get us 15 to 20 DK points. Obviously, he has upside for way more though if he's, you know, knocking down shots like he has been these last few games. Still cheap on DK with Paul George out again. I think Luke Kennard looks like a really good option for 4,200. So yeah, there's a lot to like from this Clippers team. You know, maybe you could go to like Amir Coffey off the bench. He did play 20 minutes last game. He's a little bit more risky, but if no Marcus Morris, I'd be interested in Coffey. But yeah, like this Clippers team, I mean, they're pretty thin right now. If you look, they have 1, 2, 3. So Kawhi, Leonard, Mann, that's 3. They have Zubac, Reggie Jackson, Morris if he plays would give him 6. Batum 7, Oturu 8, Patterson 9, Coffey 10. So if Marcus Morris plays, they have 10 available bodies. That doesn't necessarily mean that all 10 guys are going to play. Like, I don't know if Oturu even played last game. Yeah, he didn't even play last game. So most likely they're going to have 9 bodies, 9 active bodies. Could go down to 8 active bodies if Marcus Morris winds up out. This is definitely going to be a Clippers team we want to get some exposure to. I would say on DraftKings, Kennard, Mann, or Kawhi, Kennard, Mann, and Batum, or not Batum, Reggie Jackson. Like, those are probably my 4 favorite plays. But you could go to Zubac. You could go to Morris if he plays. If he's out, you could play Batum. There's a lot of viable options here from the Clippers. I think this is definitely a slate where I'm going to most likely have, you know, at least 2 to 3 Clippers in every lineup I make. They still remain a little bit too cheap on both sides. So, yeah, that's what I'm looking to for tonight's 7-game slate, guys. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. I do appreciate you watching. If you did enjoy, just hit that like button down below before you do get out of here. Hit that subscribe button as well. Be sure to click the notification bell so that way you do get notified every time I upload. You also get notified every time I do go live. But yeah, guys, good luck tonight. Thanks for watching the video. Hope you enjoyed. We'll see you in the next one.